Welcome to today's rant. We've got a hot subject today, and it's hardly know where to begin. There is so much, let's just say it's a target-rich environment. Talking about the Trump-Musk controversy or spat. I honestly think it's just a spat. Sometimes the most highly accomplished among us just didn't have the time. They were building and developing and innovating in such a way they may not have spent as much time in manners class as others had time to do. I'm just saying. Okay, let's start at the beginning. I'm talking about the very first two, brothers on the earth, on the entire earth, could not get along. One of them basically said, this world isn't big enough for the both of us. And people have trouble getting along. And I've listened to so many theories and so many attempted genius ways of figuring out what's going on to make them both look good. No, they had a spat. They had a fight, and men fight. Stallions fight. One time, you probably heard this story because I shared a lot, but I felt like the Lord saying he was going to show me the church that had come into perfect unity. And I used to ride my motorcycle and pray a lot, and I felt him leading me way up in the mountains and to this little Baptist church. And I stopped in front. I said, Lord, not the Baptists. They couldn't. No way. He said, no, not there. Next door. In the cemetery there. That's the church that is in perfect unity. And I got it. It's interesting to me that how the disciples were fighting over who's the greatest the night before Jesus crucified. Now, this is after living 3.5 years with the greatest leader there will ever be on the earth, the only perfect man to ever walk the earth, except for maybe Adam before he fell. And the ones he's trained for 3.5 years, he's taught, he's trained, he's lived with, they're fighting over who's the greatest. But you know what? He did not rebuke them. Now, some have tried to translate that in a way it seems like a rebuke. But no, he just told them how to do it. If you want to be the leader of all, you got to become the servant of all. And, but I used to have horses. And, I got them because, for my family, but I really like those animals. They are very cool. But if you want peace in the herd, you got to make them all geldings, which means they cannot reproduce. But if you want stallions, if you want people who can reproduce, who are going to do extraordinary things, you cannot make them geldings. And they're going to fight. There are no animals on the earth, it seems to me, like that fought like stallions. And there were no animals that were scary as a stallion. And I think you've got two of the greatest stallions, perhaps on the planet today, who brushed up against each other a little too much lately, and gotten in each other's way, or offended someone. And there were a lot of fences thrown about. That's what you get from stallions. Now, if you want someone who would be far more peaceful and gentle, Trump's not your guy. Elon Musk is not your guy. But if you want someone who's going to lead decisively, powerfully, and bring order out of chaos, most of the time, sometimes they'll create some chaos, but most of the time they will see through the chaos and bring order to it. You got to have a stallion they're gonna fight with the other stallions. I'm sorry. They're two alpha males, we call them, but these are extreme alpha males. And how it took so long for them to have, maybe a spat like this is really remarkable. And remarkable, they got along as well as they did, as long as they did. And it would not shock me one bit if they wouldn't get past this like it never happened. Because also people of their caliber are usually focused on the big picture, on something much bigger, greater than just, getting over your fences and personal things like that. And I think usually that's the way both these people are. But remember the formula that explains everything. PAC. People are crazy. That's all people. No one's exempt from occasionally going crazy. And that explains, if there are things that are happening or people doing things you cannot explain, remember PAC. It happens. Happens to even the best. We have the best heroes in the entire Bible who did some of the craziest things. Now, admittedly, the things that Elon Musk and Trump said about each other were understandably deeply offensive. And these guys don't fight with kids' gloves on. They are fighters. They are warriors, both of them. And whenever they fight at all, they're going to fight to win. I'm just saying, but given just a little time, I think these same people can see, man, we got tripped up into something that shouldn't have happened, forgive each other, and go on like it never happened. And that's a characteristic. I know a lot more about Trump than I do Elon Musk, but I really highly regard Elon Musk. I think he's been, as someone said, I heard someone say yesterday, he's been like a combination of Henry Ford, perhaps, the greatest physicist and everybody else all combined. We haven't seen anyone like him in hundreds of years. And you say, well, Einstein was, but as a pure physicist, Einstein was. But Musk is like a pure physicist, a pure scientist, an engineer of engineers, and he's a manager who knows how to put together the process and the people that will get it done. It's a combination of gifts that we may have never seen before. It may be a special one, but that's my opinion. But I highly regard both of them and what they've done. I don't want to ever not regard what Elon Musk has done for our country, which is now his adopted country. And it cost him a lot to start Doge, but if Doge keeps going, if it is kept alive, and I think it has the possibility to keep on going and become a culture and way of life for government, it will have been one of the greatest contributions to our government, to our country, ever made by a private citizen. And I would struggle, with the exception of maybe George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, of doing something even greater than what has been done by almost any other government official or leader that we've ever had. Doge, can keep us. It really could. I believe it could easily get, to $2 trillion of cutting waste from our government, and there would still be more work to do. I know they backed off to $1 trillion, but I think there's far more. I think they were scratching the surface on what is there that would save our money. It would not only cut our deficit, if it were applied to our deficit, it could reduce greatly the cost of government, and all those resources be put back into private industry, business, things that benefit people. I wrote a book, I See a New America, over 10 years ago, in which I did propose that we could cut 75% of our federal budget and increase and make the real job description of what our government is supposed to be doing, make it better, not worse, not cutting benefits or things like that. It's just through the mismanagement. And I've had a lot of government people say that's impossible. That's because they can't think outside the government's mentality, that you got to throw millions of dollars and trillions, sometimes, and multitudes of people. And, it came out a few years ago that the IRS was trying to digitize its forms and make them so you could fill them out easier online. It cost them $1 billion to digitize the first form, and it did not work. Now, I proved that. I showed the papers, it was big news back then. And they said it still didn't work after $1 billion. And I asked one of our IT guys, how much would it take you? How long would it take you? And how much do you think it would cost to digitize this form? They said $10,000. And one person could do it, if they knew what they were doing. They had hundreds of people employed on this one form in the government. That's how the government, it is so screwed up in its basic management. And I think a start has been made in fixing what could be ultimately the greatest threat to our continuation as a republic, that debt. And I can really get it, how Elon Musk would look at the pork in that big, beautiful bill, and it is offensive. It is grotesque. It is an abomination. This should not be in any government bill. The kind of madness that he started exposing still being put in bills. I could understand his outrage and why he would go. And I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for someone that sees it. I just hope he stays in a place of influence where his voice can be heard. And I think he does it because he cares about people, cares about the United States and its people, and their resources should not be misused like this. That is an abomination. I also understand Trump, who's not a politician, but he's the quickest learner I have ever had contact with. I've never seen one who could grasp such incredible concepts, incredibly, integrated and complex concepts, and make them simple. Like Trump, I consider him I've never met Elon Musk personally, but I consider Trump to be the most brilliant man I've ever met as far as grasping things, putting them into a simple solution and getting it done. I've also maybe never witnessed a human being so easy to forgive others, who is so, they say, I talked to some of his staff, they said, man, you ever make a mistake, he is all over you so that you do not ever want to not make another mistake like this in your life, ever. But 10 minutes later, it's like it never happened. He totally forgives, never brings it up again. And I have never myself been in happier offices than in Donald Trump's office. I run a Christian ministry, and I think we have a great atmosphere at MorningStar. We have some people get in sometimes we hire that really stir the pot, and we have to remove them, but generally, most of the time, we've got a great atmosphere, and we're known for that by people that come in, stay there at Heritage. Some people call it one of the best places they've ever stayed, and it's not a 5-star hotel. It's not a Ritz, but it's the atmosphere and the people wanting to serve and everything. That's Trump's, I've stayed in Trump hotels. I was joking one day with the concierge, $75 to park a car. Hey, can you fix this? I was just, messing with him. I didn't expect him to say, that's what it is in D.C., and you know what he did? He got his stamp out, stamped it, here, sir, you shouldn't pay that. He fixed it. And everyone I've ever met in a Trump hotel, if you asked them to do something, they dropped everything and got it done. Truly great atmospheres, the golf courses too. And but he's an amazing people. Here are two of the most amazing. I just know, just like when there were only two brothers on the whole earth, they had one of the biggest clashes of all, and it didn't end well. Let's pray for this one to end well. They're both much bigger men than to just be insulting. But, Trump's let it know, during the primaries and the presidential debates, he said, you hit me, I'm going to hit you back at least twice and twice as hard. And he means it, and he won't start. You try to hit him again, it's going to be 4 times and 4 times as hard. He's not going to lose the fight. He's a fighter. His makeup, and I believe God puts people on the earth at times because they're going to have to fight fights they cannot lose. And it's just not in their nature, their demeanor. Well, you got Musk the same way. It's like the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. Neither one could give. But how badly we need both of those guys right now. And how blessed we have been just for what they've accomplished together so far is so incredible. But there's so much more to be done. I really understand Musk. He feels for all of his shareholders and his businesses. He knows these people didn't just bet on his business, but they were betting on him. Most people invest in Tesla and these things. It's because they know Elon Musk will get it done. And for the wise investors, one of the things they investigate before they invest in a company is the management. You're investing in the management and the leadership of a company. And Musk, thank God he feels such an obligation to him. It didn't hurt him to lose a few $1 billion. But he didn't want others to lose. And I believe what he's done with SpaceX, with Tesla, with some of the other Starlink and all this other stuff, it's incredible. Anyway, this is a major thing, the Elon Musk and Donald Trump fight, but I don't know. I remember in high school, some of the worst fights between the two biggest alpha males resulted in them becoming best friends, even better friends maybe than before. But it's like you had to have that big fight to really trust each other and become what you need to be for each other. So I'm not too worried about this. I don't care. I'm just thankful that America has both of those men. And I agree some things were said that by both that absolutely should not have been. And but people are crazy, and even the greatest among us, the most stable, the most accomplished, everything, are going to make mistakes. They're going to have flaws. There's only been one perfect one to ever live on the earth. And every one of us have things that'll trip us up, hit our tripwire, and set us off. But let's see if there is truly remarkable, as I suspect, they're going to work this out. And they're going to work together better and closer. And I do believe we need Elon Musk's input. He's got a brilliant perspective and the get her done attitude almost like no other. So pray for the two. Pray for them. Thank God we have them both. But you're going to get this kind of reaction at times when you've got major leaders trying to work together. And it can be the best team in the world, but at times it's going to have the biggest fight going on. Well, that's my rant for today, my take on this thing. Not really concerned. Not really that concerned or upset by it. With two such stallions, you got to expect this kind of thing. Just like the Lord wasn't that upset with the way his disciples were behaving the night before he was crucified. He just told them how to become the greatest. And I think that we're going to see this so worked out too. And they did become the greatest. No group of 10 or 12 people ever changed the world like they did. And we got something remarkable happening in our country now. Well, that's my rant today, my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you, Lord, for such a great leader in the White House. Thank you so much for sending someone like Elon Musk to help us in this country the way we so desperately need it.
Join us every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for a fresh episode of the Watchman's Journal, where we'll lay the basic foundations of what it means to be a prophetic watchman and go deeper into the things of the Lord than ever before.
The Christian duty to resist tyranny. To a large degree, a commentary on what is called the doctrine of lesser magistrates, which connected the Reformation to a biblical authority for resisting tyranny. I saw seeds that God had planted all over the earth and how they had grown below the surface and were about to sprout in freedom movements all over the world. God had planted them. And you know what he plants will not get rooted up. It's not only a right, it is a responsibility, a duty to resist tyranny. We have that responsibility as Christians in our own time.